Doug Hegstead. He's been here before, and we had done a switch because his wife and daughter had other musicians that just could not meet. This was their evening, and they traded with someone. And it's a good thing they traded too. You can introduce the program, and you can tell why your wife and daughter are not here with us. I'm not going to steal your thunder, Doug. But Doug Hegstead's very familiar with us, and his parents are very familiar with us. They've been here at Vespers for years. And we love it when you come, Doug. I'll just take my seat, and you take it from here.
Thank you. Wow. What a wonderful blessing it's been to be here this evening already. Thank you. I got a question for you. How many of you had the flu so far this year? Yeah, and how many of you are still planning to get it? Anyway, last Sunday evening, Elaine had a temperature of about 101. Spent the week lying in bed, coughing and being miserable. She's slightly less miserable today, but she's coughing too much to play her flute. And Chloe last night had fever herself, and looks like she got mom's illness, and so far I'm praying that it stays on the late side of the family. You know, on the medical side of this, it's been an amazing time. At Loma Linda, I suspect a lot of other places, we had to put a tent outside of the emergency department. Had between 70 and 100 patients in there overflowing from inside the building, and worked with the state of California to make different use of licensed beds. For example, in the rehab hospital, now about half of it is filled up with people who have the flu. And we got permission to keep people in the hallways. And you can imagine there's the other side of this thing, that the people doing the work, some of them are sick too. So it's been a really challenging time, but you've seen the headlines. The flu is bad this year, and we'll all do our best to get through it. One of the things I think I enjoy about coming out here, and Mel Johnson, thank you for that song service tonight, because I think it's a sneak preview of what is yet to come. This is a coming together, and I think this group of people do it so well. And I think what's in store for us this evening is what maybe is going to happen when we do this, when we meet together with our Creator. Because I think we're going to be there, and what's going to happen is we're going to share our stories. And tonight, you're going to hear a story that I think will touch you and illustrate that it's not a random walk through this life. There's a place where we go. Violet Molnar, our speaker, is somebody I got to know back in 1998. I'd lived in Loma Linda since 1980. She lived there even longer, but that's when we met. And soon after, I began to hear pieces of her story. Born in Hungary in 1930, and there must be another story that I'd love to hear. Can you imagine her parents, probably born about 1905, living through World War I, living through World War II, and then came 1956, and Violet was part of that story. As a young woman, with the Soviet retakeover of Hungary after the rebellion, she decided, there's not a life for me here. I'm leaving. And the story of the escape to Austria, and then in 1960, her trip to the United States, not speaking a word of English, and the inspiring part of what mentors and people did to help her establish herself, and establish herself as a member of this faith community, to gain her own education here. And I gotta tell you one thing, if you do have to come to Loma Linda, and you have to go to that emergency room with a tent in it, and you look to the west across the street, you'll see a street sign, and there's actually a street in Loma Linda called Violet Molnar Way. And so Violet, We're delighted to have a lady here with a street named after her, but I'd like to start. I don't want to take away your story, but I do want to start with a scripture you asked me to share this evening to introduce your faith walk and talk. Psalm 91. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and the adder, the young lion and the dragon shalt thou trample under feet. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show my salvation.
Awesome.
All right.
Ye are my witnesses, said the Lord. And that's why I'm here, because I want to witness. I want to tell you what the Lord is doing for us. When Jesus was here, He did lots of wonderful things, and He is not changing. He is doing the things for now for us. And I like to tell you my story. This will tell you what He is doing in our days. I was born and raised in Budapest, Hungary, and I had Roman Catholic parents, and they tried to raise me with sort of a Christian. They were going to church twice a year or something like that. It wasn't important. Religion wasn't important to them. But we grew and we had to learn to live with the communist era, and we also had to entertain our neighbors, the Russians. They were in Hungary, and so people had to live with that, and even though they didn't like communism, they had to accept it. And I was growing up there, and by the time I was 18, they gave me a shop to keep. And I was selling milk products and bread products, and I was all by myself in a store, and so people came and bought things and they left. And one time a lady came to the store and she said to me, "Would you do me a favor?" I said, "What could I do for you?" She said, "You know, I have 3 children and I'm going to have the 4th one. I don't have a refrigerator and it's worn now. How would it be if I would pay for my milk on Friday and come down to get it on Saturday?" I said, "Are you Jewish or what? Well, why would you want to do that?" She said, "No, I am Christian, but you see, I don't want to pay for anything on Saturday. I want to give you the money on Friday." I said, "Well, I don't know if I can do that. You see, the store belongs to the government, and I am just, whatever I sell during the day, I have to ship the money to the government. And so I don't think I can easily do that." And she said, but it would be so nice if you could. And she looked at me with beautiful eyes and just wanting me to do something for her. I said, well, you know what? I don't think they will know. We'll do it secretly. I will give you the milk and you just pay Friday and whatever. I met the lady, and just a wonderful, wonderful Christian lady. And I find out how they were poorer than I was, that to raise 3 children and the husband was working in a factory. And so I decided one day I'm going to take them some food. I made a basket, with milk and bread and whatever I had. And I knocked at the door and they were happy to see me, the children too. And I gave it to them and she said to the children, okay, let's kneel down and pray. We didn't have anything to eat for today. And they were praying for God. And I thought I was the one who brought it. And they are praying and asked them, God is, what God has to do with it? I was a nice person. So I brought them some food. And then she was telling me all about how she felt about Jesus and what Jesus meant to her. She said, I would like you to come and meet our young people. You will fit in beautifully. And I said, well, the store is open, but Friday night we have meetings. Young people will be there. And I get to like these people. I went to them and they call themselves Seventh-day Adventists. And I thought, oh, interesting. I never heard about them. And I said, how do you tell other people who you are? Because under the communist era, you cannot advertise, you cannot invite people in loud. She said, we whisper, we tell people, So, so they introduced me to these lovely people who were whispering and who were doing beautifully well. And they got me in and said, you can do and say some poem and just be one of us. And I liked them. These were different people, They said there is God. Not like what they teach, that there is no God in school. They were not allowed telling anything religious. And so I got invited and I liked them. And as they taught me, I learned more and more. And if they could tell me from the Bible, I accepted it openly. And so one time I went home and I told my mother, Mom, I'm not going to eat pork anymore. What's the matter with you? You grew up on that. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, well, it's not clean. And she said, anything I put on a table, those are clean. So she would not accept it. And she said, Violet, anytime you come home, you tell something funny. I don't know what kind of people these are. I wish you wouldn't go to them. I said, but I like them. They are wonderful people. I want to be with them. And so, but it started to get uncomfortable. I was an only child, and here I come with all kinds of things they were not used to, and I wanted to be different. And my father was a musician. He played the viola, and they got together in social gatherings, and they said, where is your daughter? You have a daughter, you should bring her. She's sick. she's going to somewhere where we don't like her to go, but she's not coming with us. So I told my Adventist friends, I was always an obedient child, and now, I don't want to do what they want to do, and, how am I going to go about this? And they said, Violet, trust God. He will open the way for you that you will be able to serve Him if you really want to. I said, I surely want to. So I didn't have to wait too long. It was in 1956. The Hungarians, as one, 10 million people, decided that they don't want the communists any longer. They don't want to do what the Russians are telling us to do, or anything. Can you imagine in one day, October the 23rd, the whole nation up, and they were protesting and doing all kinds of nice things that we don't want you Russians here, get out. And they were, it was something new to them because it was this uprising which was spontaneous, so they were not ready for that. They got out, but they returned 2 weeks later with overwhelming power with tanks. So the poor Hungarians couldn't do anything anymore. So it was worse than it was before. So all the young people who were involved, they were in trouble. What are they going to do? They had to escape, they had to do something. And our next country, which was Austria, Austria was free. But the borders, not like we have it here, the borders were electrically, just you couldn't even get close because you could die, because it was all the electrical devices. So you are not going to get out from the country easy. But because the whole nation wanted the young people not to be in jail because of their uprising, they opened the sections out that they could, if they knew which way to go, they could come out and be free. So they told me, these Adventist friends, listen, who knows, maybe God wants you to get out from the country and maybe you can start a new life somewhere else. And I thought, well, that's not a bad idea. And I discussed it with my parents. My father was okay with it, that we would get out, but my mother wasn't. And so we find out that there were people who let us out from the country if we paid them. So there was one gentleman who told us that we could go with him, and I said, oh, that's a wonderful way, I want to go with him. And so my father was going with another group, and my mother said she would like to stay home and we will get her out as a family reunion or whatever later on. So I thought that was a good idea. And so there was this man who told me and the other people that we are going to meet in Budapest in our train station, and we are going to go together and try to get out. He knows exactly the way how to get through the border, which was opened up for those people who decided to leave the country. So he told us how to be quiet, don't tell anybody who we are and what we are doing. If somebody will be taken down, the others may be able to get through. And so we thought that was a good idea, and we got to the train station, and this man told us that when we get to a big city called Győr, we are going to change trains, and then we are going to have enough time to buy some food or go to a restaurant or what to do, whatever we want to do, because the other train is not going to come right away. So, and I find a nice young man who used to work here around the border, and I was so interested to what to expect and what to do. So I talked with him, and finally we got to this big city called Győr, and we got out, and I was still talking with this young man, and he said he was going in the different ways. I said, oh, I have time to talk with you because we could go to a restaurant or go to eat before the other train will come. And so I talked with him, and we had a nice time. And later on I said, I better go because my friend probably going to wait for me. And I ran to the place. This was a big industrial city where the train was coming and going, and it was very confusing. And finally I find where I was supposed to be, and my friends weren't there. And the man wasn't there who was supposed to lead us through, and I already paid him. What is he? And they said that because of this troubled time, the trains are coming in different ways, and the train I was supposed to be on has already gone. Mm-hmm. And here I was in a strange city all by myself, and thinking, what am I going to do? I even have the tickets with this man and whatever. I'm not even acquainted with this town. What am I going to do? And I was upset, and I was just, what is life all about? You know, I'm not doing anything. And there came a young man to me, and he said, "Where are the others?" I said, "Please leave me alone." He said, "But I want to know where are the others you were with." I said, "Why do you want to know?" He says, "Because I was with the rest of them. I decided that I'm not going to watch, but I will watch you, and wherever you go, I will follow you." I said, "Why didn't you follow the leader? Why did you want to follow me?" I said, you chose somebody who got left, and I don't know how to get anywhere right now." I said, "Well, by the way, would you leave me, please?" He said, "No, because I followed you this time, I will see what we can do together." I said, "Well, tell me about yourself." He said, "John was 14 years old. He had some relatives in America, so he wanted to get an escape from the place." And so I said, "Well," and he looked to me for leadership, but I was myself not knowing anything. And I said, "Well, I think what we can do, let's see how much money I still have. Maybe we can buy another ticket right from here and go toward Austria and see whatever we can find, and maybe we get through someplace. I don't want to go back to Budapest. I want to start a new life somewhere else. I don't know where, but I want to get out." So we decided to find a train which was going to the way of Austria, Vienna, and we had enough money to buy the tickets, and we got on the train, and it was December the 19th, and we were very, very cold in Hungary around that time. So we were delighted that the trains were heated, you know, and we sat down and we decided to entertain ourselves to see the windows. Where are we? It didn't matter because there were no printed places. We didn't know exactly the way to get anywhere from here to there, but we wanted to see on the window where we were. So one time we were about an hour on a train. I looked out and there were Russian soldiers. Wow, what are they going to do? And you see what they were doing. They went 2 by 2s in different compartments and checked for refugees, looked for people who were trying to escape, and they would rather see young people inside the jail than to let them go to Austria and be free. So we saw that they were, and then the train stops and they went into their various places. 2 came to where I was sitting with John, and they were asking people who were going home from work for their papers, and their ID papers were written in Hungarian in one side, Russian in the other side, so they knew exactly who we were. And so finally they got to John, and I could see John being very pale, and because he was 14 and he was cool, and in this day he wasn't supposed to be on the train anyway. So we knew that they told him to step aside, and we knew that John was in trouble. And then came to me. They asked me for my paper, and I thought to myself, how am I going to get out from here? And I decided, there was a Latin saying which said, if you take time, you may win the battle, something on it. And I thought of that, why not take my time, and maybe I do something. And I started looking for my paper, and I looked everywhere where the paper wasn't. So of course I couldn't find it. And I even looked in somebody else's pocketbook, and she didn't like that, So, the paper wasn't anywhere, they had to wait. But they only had so much time, they couldn't wait forever. But I took my time and I looked everywhere, no, I don't have it. and so, and we heard a short whistle, and the train started moving on. And these 2 people, they were nice people, they didn't know what to do. Take me down, because John was ready. that he will be down because his paper showed that he wasn't supposed to be on the train at this time. And they didn't know what to do with me. And of course, we studied some Russian, but we never learned it well because we didn't like it so well, So I could tell that they talked about my mother, in not nice ways. So but they had to wait anyway. And so the train was going out a little faster and a little faster. So they had to decide, are they going to drag me out or what are they going? So, and they decided to jump off from the moving train themselves. Those two Russian soldiers left, and they left us there, And then this John was looking at me. He said, "What happened? What happened?" I said, "You know what happened? Hungarian 70 Adventist people are praying for me, and you are getting the benefit." So, because you were with me. So, and then we got on the train, and it was so nice and warm there. We didn't want to get out because if you get outside, we don't know anybody, and it was dark, and it was after 5 o'clock, and by then it started darker, and so we just stayed on and whatever. And then finally a young man came to the train where we were, and he said, "Is there anybody here who would like to get to Austria free?" I thought, well, he could be a Russian, somebody who's against us, not for us, And I said, "Why do you ask?" He says, "Because I know the way, and if anybody pays me extra, I show them how to get out from the country." I said, "I already paid somebody. Could you take me for that much money I have?" He said, "How much money?" And I told him that I have all, and he can have it all if he takes me to Austria. And he said, "Okay." So this gentleman took us. Of course, they made business out of it, So there were some other people, and we all got out, and he was leading us to a place. They lived close to the border, and he knew exactly how to get out. And imagine in winter time when the little creek was already freezing up, and we had to cross it. And at that time, it was very fashionable to have some boots that was just materials, and the cold air and a cold water and everything just came in. And he and his mother told us that we are going to do about 3 o'clock in the morning, to get through and try to get to Austria. And it was amazing, there were high power where they can watch who is coming, and they can make it light as daytime. And if anybody they could find on the border illegally, they can shoot them, and nobody would ask a word who they were. So we were about 7 or 8 of us, and then we had to cross that watery thing, and finally, one by one, with God's help, we got to Austria.
Amen.
And it was amazing, that because the Hungarians were the first one in 1956 who said that communism is not working. And, because they had to tell the world, and these people were doing it. So it was amazing how welcome the Hungarian refugees were in Austria. So I was very fortunate because I could speak German. And so they told me that, that you want to go with this group or that group, and cars were from Australia, from Germany, from everywhere. They were waiting for the Hungarian refugees who could make it, who did make it. And so I was one of them who made it. And I was in Austria, and I was we were in a refugee camp. But it was a nice camp where you could come and go anytime you wanted to. It wasn't locked. They were food from America, I still don't like the food, but they brought in big cans, and we ate them. We were happy to have anything, in fact. But, God was so good that I was in Austria. And what am I going to do from here? You know, I would like to go to America. No, you know, two ways about that, because that's the symbol of freedom. You know, I didn't know much about it too much, but that would be nice to go. In the refugee camp, I met a lovely couple. They were sisters. They, you know, the Americans took first those people who had their PhDs or doctors. They were the smart people who came to America. But I had only a high school diploma, so I was just waiting there. I waited for 1.5 years in the refugee camp, but I enjoyed it because I got out and went to, I showed that I am a refugee, I cannot pay, but I want to go to the concert, you know, and they allowed me to go to the concert. And they were nice to me, and I enjoyed everything I could, but there was an insecurity of not knowing where do I going to go. And then finally, these two sisters, they were going to, I think they were Presbyterians, and the Presbyterian church sponsored them, and they could come to America way before any of the other girls who didn't have that much education. And they liked me, and they said, Violet, we are going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, and if we're going to go there, we are going to help you to come and be with us in America. I said, well, they don't even know English, how would they help me? But I thought, okay, that would be nice. So they went to America, they went in Atlanta, and I got a letter from them after a few months, and they said, Violet, we find it for you. This is also Molnar, this Presbyterian minister. See, my name means miller in English, and there are a lot of Molnars in Hungary. So this pastor, Presbyterian pastor, was Molnar, and he told these ladies that, okay, I will sponsor her, but I would like her to go to a Presbyterian school to study and to be with us and be a Presbyterian later. And I wrote back, I said, well, I love to go to America, but I don't want to be a Presbyterian. I want to be a Sabbath keeper. I wrote to these two ladies. And then after, I thought maybe they forgot about me, but they didn't. About a few months later, I got another letter, and they said, we find him for you. Violet, this is also a Presbyterian minister, but he was a Jewish man, and he became a Presbyterian, but he still wants to sponsor Jewish young people who want to keep the Sabbath. And I understand you want to keep the Sabbath. Yeah, but I don't want to be Jewish either. And so I wrote back to letters, you know. This gentleman already wanted me on his list. He already sponsored 400 Jewish young people. And now he wants to sponsor me also. But I didn't want to be neither Jewish nor Presbyterian. I wanted to be a Seventh-day Adventist. And so this man, he was so impressed. He said, this is an interesting girl. She doesn't want to just come to America, but she wants to be what she wants to be. And so what he did, he went in Atlanta to a Seventh-day Adventist church, and he wanted to see the religious liberty secretary there and tell that there is a Hungarian woman who would like to come to America, and she wants to be a Seventh-day Adventist. And so the Adventists, they said, we don't know anything about anything because we don't have anybody here who is a refugee or something. We don't know how to deal with it. And this Jewish gentleman, he said, sponsor her because I'm going to pay her way over. And would you believe it, I was able to come to America. In New York, there is a Seventh-day Adventist church. I was baptized there. Amen. And after I got baptized, thank you so much. And you know, after I was baptized, this gentleman wrote me a letter, of course in English, which I couldn't read, but there were always somebody who could translate for me. And he said, I'm going to wait for you in Atlanta, and we will decide what's going to be your life and how you're going to come. And I thought, oh good. So after I was with the Hungarians in New York, I was happy there. And then this gentleman was waiting for me in Atlanta, Georgia. And would you believe it? He told me what newspaper he will have and how will he look like. And he was about 65 or something like that. And I thought, how lovely, somebody who is going to wait for me, because otherwise, how do I know how to get out from? Or I took a train again, and I was down in Atlanta, and there was this man, and I knew that he was the one. So I went to him, and my goodness, what do you say when you don't know English, And so I said, no English, no. Are you with the name? Yes, this is my name and everything. And he said to me, somehow related, what other language can you speak? And I said, ich spreche Deutsch. I can speak German. And the man spoke 7 languages. This Jewish Presbyterian minister spoke 7 languages. We already had something in common. He said, we are going to go to visit this Seventh-day Adventist family because they want to meet you and they are going to make some plans for you. So we went to the Seventh-day Adventist family, and of course they were waiting for us with dinner, and they were lovely people. And this gentleman sat next to me, and I thought, wow, look at that hot dog, just like we had it in Hungary. And I started chewing it, and I said, what is that? How do you spit this out? I just didn't like it. I never had anything vegetarian, thing looks like a hot dog. And this gentleman had the same problem. He didn't know. And now we had something in common. We didn't want the Adventist meat. And so anyway, this gentleman and the religious liberty secretary, who was Elder R.E. Crawford, and they said, Violet, you are going to be all right, And this gentleman translated for us, the Presbyterian minister. And then we decided that I was going to go to Florida, Orlando, Florida, and there the Crawford's brother was an administrator, and they will give me a job, and then in the evening I can go and study English. And so I did that. I went down to Orlando, and then, we Adventist people are extremely educational minded. We want everybody to finish school and do something. And so they said, Violet, why don't you go back and finish your high school diploma, because you have to learn it in English, and you have to take American history, you have to take this and that, and then you graduate from our school. And I said, wonderful, and I was going to go to Fletcher, North Carolina, because we have a self-supporting institution there. And I was graduating, about a year and a half later, and then this gentleman, who was a Presbyterian minister, he came there for my graduation. Oh. And he said, I'd like to help you, Violet. What are you going to do now? I said, I am going to go to college. He said, what? Which college? Oh, Seventh-day Adventist College. He said, what? You cannot afford that. You are a refugee. You don't have money to pay for that. I said, what? You know what? I have a very rich Heavenly Father. He can afford it, And, I decided that I will work it, and I got into the Needy Students Fund, and then they will help me to get through school. And so, God was so precious, so good to me. Amen. I was in Southern Missionary College at that time, and I was there a year, and I was preparing to be a nurse. And of course it wasn't easy for me, but well, that was the life. It was life, I had to go with it. And Elder Crawford, who was in Atlanta, Georgia, he said, Violet, I am working also with Publishing Association, and I'm going to send you some books. And he was sending me Ellen G. White writings. I thought, no, lovely books, but I can't read them, you know. I don't have time to read them because I have to study anatomy. And so, but Dr. Berman, this Presbyterian minister who had 2 PhDs besides his 7 languages, I said to myself, he can speak English well. Why can't he read the books? And I shipped my books over there to Dr. Berman, let him study that. And half a year later or so, Elder Crawford called me because I was at Southern, and he said, Violet, I have good news for you. I said, what's the good news? He says, your old gentleman friend, Dr. Berman, is going to be baptized.
Amen.
He's going to be a Seventh-day Adventist. I said, I can't believe that. Why can't you believe that? Because he told me that Trinity, he doesn't agree with the Trinity or the Adventist teaches it. And Violet, you shouldn't be even here. Come back to Atlanta. I will help you go to work in a bank and study English and be with me. And now you say that he is becoming a Seventh-day Adventist? Yes, he already gave us $100,000 tithe money, and he's moving to Paradise Valley Sanatorium, and he's buying them electric pipe organ. I said, well, he must be rich. You know, he can do all that. And he sponsored 400 refugees from Hungary. So he was a well-to-do gentleman. And then I was very happy to hear that. And the gentleman said that there was going to be a general conference in San Francisco at that time. And he would like to pay for all of you come and bring Violet with you, and I want to see her, and we will be together. So summertime when school was out, you know, we came to the general conference, and I had a chance to talk with this gentleman. And I said, well, shall we speak in German or English? He said, English. You have to study English and speak well. And he liked what I spoke. And I said, I understand that you were baptized. He said, of course. And I said, what, you didn't agree with that, and you didn't like the health dogs either? And I said, what made you to change? And he said, Violet, do you remember the books you sent me? The Desire of Ages. Wow. I fell in love with Jesus. He said, that's the reason, you know, that I became a Seventh-day Adventist. And now I am happy. He said, you know, my blood pressure is going down and I am doing much better because I eat vegetarian and I am moving over to Paradise Valley. And he said, it's a new life for me and I enjoy it. And you know, I am looking at the clock and it tells me that it's about time for me to finish the story, because I would have a lot more to tell you, but you know, your time is precious also. So what is interesting in this story, and this is what I want to finish with, that there comes a Hungarian young woman who has no money. $10 was in my pocket when I came to America. Couldn't speak a word of English. I didn't know anybody in this country. I wasn't even a Seventh-day Adventist. I didn't have any reason to be here now to talk with you, you know. But God is the same. Amen. You know, He doesn't change. And the same, you know, nobody can argue with our personal experiences. Exactly. And you know, if you have something to encourage other people, please do it. Yes. Because this is the way we tell the story, you know, what He has done in our lives. And I am still alive, I'm still happy, I'm still in Loma Linda, and I have friends who are wonderful to me. So there are so much to be thankful for. you know, I am thankful to be here with you, you know. We are not back in New York or anywhere where it's cold and not as nice as we have it here.
Come back.
I ask the Lord to bless you just as well as He blessed me. And I was able to be testify for His goodness and for that He is worth to serve.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Come back and speak again.
I would love to.
Chapter 2 is coming, but there's a lot more chapters that are in this room, and we'll look forward to hearing each other's story. Let's bow our heads. Our God, we thank you for this story, this beautiful life that Violet has had, for her contributions, and for her witness. We ask that you will be with each person here and empower us to continue to do your work. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.